Pamela Colman Smith is best remembered for her tarot illustrations. Commissioned by Arthur Waite in 1909, many of these images have become familiar, but by the time Smith came to tarot, she was already a published artist, a theatre set and costume designer, and a storyteller. Much of this output has faded, so today we're going to look more closely at the life and work of Corinne Pamela Colman Smith. Smith was born in London in 1878. During her childhood, she lived in Jamaica where her father was working. She absorbed Jamaican folklore and wrote her own plays, making small theatres complete with scene changes, moving curtains and a range of characters. In 1893, Smith travelled to Brooklyn in New York State, where she enrolled in the Pratt Institute to study art. After the death of her mother, she returned to London in 1899. Her father died later that year, so by the age of 21, she was alone. In New York, she'd met Ellen Terry and Henry Irving. They ran the Lyceum Theatre, where Bram Stoker, author of Dracula, was business manager as well as personal assistant to Irving. The theatre company was touring America, and Smith accompanied them, designing sets and costumes. It was Ellen Terry who gave her the nickname Pixie. Back in London, Smith set about using her artistic talents to earn a living. Bram Stoker had asked her to illustrate a souvenir booklet featuring portraits of Ellen Terry in all her famous stage roles, and this was just the beginning. 1899 proved to be a busy year. Work included hand-coloured scenes for a calendar featuring Shakespeare's heroines. She contributed to the illustrated verses of William Butler Yeats, as well as the illustrations for 2 Old English ballads titled The Golden Vanity and The Green Bed. 1899 also saw the publication of Widdicombe Fair, a collection of 13 watercolour prints. Smith gathered together the folk stories she remembered from Jamaica and published them alongside her own illustrations in a book called Anansi Stories. As a single woman living in London at the end of the 19th century, Smith was continually looking for work. She was known for dressing up in flamboyant clothes and telling stories about Anansi the Spider-Man, as well as other Jamaican tales, often using the local dialect from her years spent living in the West Indies, providing entertainment as well as getting paid. In 1902, Smith co-edited a monthly broadsheet with Jack Yeats, brother to the poet William Butler Yeats, but after the first year she left to set up her own publication called The Green Sheaf. The first issue contained the illustration for The Land of Heart's Desire, which was first published in the illustrated verses of William Butler Yeats, and it's been suggested the landscape was later echoed in her tarot designs. Smith might have remained a relatively unknown artist today, if not for an invitation to join the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in 1901. This was a secret society for the study and practice of esoteric and ceremonial magic. It was here she met Arthur E Waite, and when he left to set up his own independent and rectified Rite of the Golden Dawn in 1903, Smith also left to join him. During this time, she discovered music had the power to inspire visions, which she captured in paintings, a practice known as synesthetic music pictures. Some of these paintings were sold, and this is how her life continued for the next few years, doing bits and pieces here and there. At some point during this time, Smith was introduced to tarot. The Golden Dawn didn't have a tarot deck, but there was a document known as the Tea Book, which contained lists of symbols for each card. Waite wanted to take away some of the secrecy and make the teachings more accessible by designing his own tarot. He looked for an artist and offered Smith a commission. In 1909, she was given 6 months and a set fee to complete 78 images. We don't know how much she was paid. The only reference to this work is in a letter from Smith to Alfred Stieglitz, the American photographer and modern art promoter who had previously hosted exhibitions of Smith's work at his gallery in New York. This letter, dated November 1909, includes a reference to the tarot designs, where Smith says she's just finished a big job for very little cash, a set of designs for a pack of tarot cards. For much of the time she spent working on this, Smith stayed with her old friend Ellen Terry at her house Smallhithe in Tenterden, Kent. It's thought much of her landscape inspiration came from this area, especially around Winchelsea on the Kent coast, and that Ellen Terry herself was the inspiration for the Queen of Wands and the Nine of Pentacles. Smith also seems to have been influenced by an exhibition of the Solar Busker Tarot at the British Museum. This contained black and white photos of the cards, which dated back to around 1500 and were the only tarot deck to have had illustrations for all of the minor arcana. Although there's no direct evidence for this, the similarities between certain cards support the theory. Her Three of Swords mirrors the Solar Busker card, and the Ten of Wands looks very much like the Solar Busker Ten of Swords. After the tarot was completed, Smith continued to work as an illustrator. She designed publicity materials for the Suffrage Atelier, an artist collective founded in 1909 to support the suffrage movement, and illustrated Bram Stoker's book The Lair of the White Worm. This was followed by her illustrations for Ellen Terry's book On the Russian Ballet in 1913, but it seemed her years of creativity were coming to a close. Around this time, Smith converted to the Roman Catholic Church, possibly because Waite himself had been leaning more heavily towards Christian mysticism, and this might have influenced her decision. In 1920, her mother's brother, the artist Samuel Colman, died and left her an inheritance. Smith left London for Cornwall and moved to a house called Park Garland on the Lizard Peninsula with her friend Nora Lake, where they ran a retreat for Catholic priests. In the 1940s, she moved to Bude, where she died unmarried and virtually penniless in 1951, aged 73. Her estate was auctioned to pay creditors, and she was given a pauper's burial in an unmarked grave in St Michael in All Angels churchyard in Bude. Today, Smith is best known for her tarot designs. Without these, her work would be largely forgotten, so in this video we've looked at something of the scope of her artistic creativity. The next video will look at the life of Arthur E Waite. He not only commissioned what would turn out to be Smith's most remembered work, but he also designed a second tarot, known as the Trinic Tarot, and we'll take a closer look at this next time.